Hello everybody. Today I'm going to review all the classic books that I've ever read in one sentence, and then I'm going to chat a bit about the culture around classics and the canon around classics and just have a little conversation. This is inspired by Jack Edwards. He has a bunch of these. It's meant to be funny and unserious. Pride and Prejudice. I just read this to understand the hand movement scene in the movie, and it was totally worth it. Wuthering Heights, brooding, dark, exciting love story, but kept me excited and I couldn't put the book down. This is the book that honestly got me into reading classics. To the Lighthouse, not always the easiest to follow, but has some of my favorite quotes and messages. Far from the maiden crowd, if you're into plot tropes, this is a very slow burn romance where she falls for the wrong guy, but then comes around in the end. Maybe I would recommend it, depends. Walden, white man goes into the woods and writes about it, not easy to understand, and the woods is actually just 2 miles out of a town, and the people are giving him food. 1984, scarily realistic and absolutely not hopeful. Do not read this when the world is overwhelming you, but definitely a must read. Animal Farm, I thought this was for children, but it's actually about communism and it's terrifyingly true. Brave New World is like a 1984, but if everyone was happy, wasn't able to think critically. It has a powerful message, but the execution isn't always there. Slaughterhouse 5 can be confusing, but that's the entire point. White Knights, simple yet very heartfelt. Catcher in the Rye, powerful at 16, but annoying at any other age. The Picture of Dorian Gray, man has a devil and an angel on his shoulder and he picks the devil. Very good book. The Bell Jar does incredible work for mental health and is very relatable to many women in their 20s, but is unfortunately racist. Flowers for Algernon, an incredibly sad yet moving story about a man who gains intelligence and has never related to anybody in his entire life. The Great Gatsby is a humorous take on the virus that is materialism and social class. Do you think that this is incredibly relatable now? And I wonder if it is even more so now. The Handmaid's Tale. I read The Hunger Games when I was 12 and I read this in my 20s, and this felt like the political commentary equivalent of The Hunger Games for adults. There are too many parallels to today's society. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. I read this when I was a little bit too young to remember most of it, but it did leave me with a powerful picture of an impoverished life in America. The Stranger by Albert Camus, or originally published as L'étranger in French. And I read this in high school in French class, and I don't remember a single thing, so I should read it again. And finally, the Poisonwood Bible. A Christian family with a shitty dad falls apart as the country they move to, the Congo, also starts to fall apart. I started reading classics not that long ago, to be honest. I read maybe 2 or 3 in high school. I've since started reading them more. I don't make it a point to read classics all the time. I do not think that that's fun, and you shouldn't be reading things that you don't think are fun. But over the last couple of years, I think I've read about 20. That's not bad. That's okay for like somebody who has started reading more in the last couple of years. I think that's okay. I think that's respectable. Whatever you have to say, I think it's respectable. I want to say, other than To the Lighthouse and Walden, all the books that I've named are very accessible and they're very readable. You don't need an English literature degree to understand these books. I don't have an English literature degree. I also just decided to start reading classics in my 20s. Classics are more accessible than people think. And if you're reading a classic that you don't like, don't be afraid to put it down. You don't need to finish it, okay? Don't be afraid to put it down. Don't be afraid to just say that you didn't like it, that you just didn't enjoy it. No literature nerd is going to hold a gun to your head if you don't like a classic. It happens. There's no right way to read classics. Like I said, you don't need an English literature degree. You don't need to be doing crazy critical analysis or writing an entire essay about it. Read what you want, annotate it if you want, listen to audiobooks if you want, read the graphic novel version if you want, just enjoy it. But there is definitely a certain amount of critical thought that you should have while you're reading these, while you're reading anything. This is important to everything, but especially when it comes to classics, because a lot of classics are Eurocentric. There is a male-dominated authorship. We know stories of men taking credit of women's work. There is a lot of prejudice in these classics. People still appreciate older Western classics, but you can also read classics from other cultures that have rich histories, even more so than the ones in the West. You can read Japanese classics, African classics. We should all be reading as wide and as far and as often as possible. The canon is good, but it's incomplete. That's the end of my video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and subscribe to my channel if you'd like more.